kohë me gjithë angazhimet e tua që jeme ne. Okej, faleminderit sikur se përmendite Frutra, sot kemi një të ftuar special, është Layla, e cila ka qenë me ne të paktën 4-5 vite që jam unë, po. Ka bërë një punë të mrekullueshme, ka qenë pranë ne ashtu, e ka ekspozuar më shumë punën që ne bëjmë. Kështu që unë do doja ta ftoja atë sot që të na shpreh pak atë që ajo ka ndjerë nëpërmjet bashkëpunimit me ne. Layla, hello, welcome.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
No, thank you. It's an honor. It's always really nice to get involved with Shpresa, and so great to see you all today online. But yeah, I'm happy to present if you want me to start sharing now.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Can you guys see that? Hopefully.
Yeah, it's coming. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make this sort of very quick. First of all, Pershindetje, I'm really sorry I can't present this all in sort of Albanian, but I'll try my best to sort of make this very simple. Luli wanted me to sort of share some of our findings, to explain sort of why it's really great you go to Albanian school and that you're bilingual and you have these languages and different identities. But if at any point you sort of have any questions or you want to stop me, just let me know. My name is Layal, or Layla is completely fine as well. I'm a PhD researcher, as some of you or most of you already know, and we're in our final year of the project. So we're doing a lot of sharing our findings, and we're happy to speak to parents or teachers or anything like that. And in the next year, we will be sort of making our toolkits to share our findings more. But yeah, again, if you have any questions, sort of just let me know. Feel free to interrupt me. And yeah, it's great to sort of join you guys here today. And I'll just sort of explain for those who might not know who I am. Like I said, I'm a PhD student, but I'm also bilingual myself, just to sort of share that with you guys. I'm bilingual in English and Arabic. And I grew up as well mixed sort of with two different identities and cultures. So I have both like personal and professional interest in bilingual development, and I also worked in a bilingual school. So I studied psychology in my undergraduate years, and then I specialized in sort of developmental and educational psychology. Then I also ended up working in the bilingual school, like I said. So I did a lot of curriculum development for bilingual children. And I really sort of grew to be quite passionate about this topic. Like I said, some of you might have already seen me around. I've spoken to a lot of the parents. I know it's sort of the amazing things that Shpresa does. So it's been really great to get involved in that and see sort of how much Shpresa does other than just language learning. But yeah, we really place an emphasis on like public engagement. We're always happy to talk to people. And yeah, basically our project is studying children who are growing up bilingual across sort of different schools and different communities. And we're based primarily in Newham. So you can see sort of Museum of London. We collaborated with so many different schools as well. And we go to different primary schools as well in Newham. So not to make this sort of boring, but just to explain to you what we do, we look at sort of different outcomes in bilingual development. So we look at maybe social benefits, educational benefits, cognitive benefits, so sort of what happens in the brain as well. And we compare children who go to sort of schools like Shpresa to those that don't, just so we can support families in the end and develop resources and raise awareness of the amazing things you guys do. Just to sort of give a bit of background to sort of the benefits of why you're doing this incredible thing. So it might not be a surprise that bilingualism is actually the norm rather than the exception. There's a lot of people who use sort of more than one language regularly, but it's not categorical. So what that means is it sort of changes by time. It's influenced by so many different factors. So a lot of you here might know you might be influenced to speak with your family, your grandparents in Albanian, but you might want to speak English or other languages in other situations. So there's so many different factors that help you learn a language. And a bilingual is not too monolingual. So what that means is, as you're learning a language, it can always change your sort of ability. It's never sort of linear. And your languages help each other. So the more you get better sort of in Albanian, it can also help you with your English and vice versa. Okay, there's sort of a lot of theory behind that. And so the knowledge that you acquire from one language is always available for the acquisition of another language. And that's sort of what this graph here is about, okay? As for bilingualism benefits, you might have heard that there are a few of these, and while they're kind of debated, we now know there's sort of no negative cause of bilingualism. It doesn't cause confusion in a child. If anything, we've seen that bilinguals can thrive and do better in different tests. And that's where we come in. We really want to know sort of the different factors that affect us. So as an example, in cognitive development, there's been a lot of sort of benefits that have looked at attentional control. So bilinguals are able to shift their attention sometimes better. Executive functioning, which means they're able to switch between tasks, so they can switch tasks quite quickly. And inhibitory control, working memory, so they can retain things better and switch. And that really comes from the idea that as a bilingual, you're always switching between your languages. You have to sort of control or inhibit one language while you're using the other. And I'm sure a lot of you know as well, because you spend so much time studying Albanian, it can be challenging sometimes. You do have sort of English all around you, and then you really want to learn Albanian. So there is this sort of effort, cognitive effort, mental effort that you have to make to learn both languages. But that results in long-term benefits. So it is a good thing. Like I said, you do sort of show attentional control, better attentional control. And although there may be delays, so with lexical retrieval, it might be a bit slower or there's delays earlier on, this is overcome. So bilinguals do catch up eventually. And there is positive associations with achievement. So just even attending a school with more students that speak different languages was shown to have positive progress for all students. So it helps not just the bilingual themselves, but everyone around you. And if you're sort of good in English as well, or you have developing competence in English, you make more progress than even those that have just one language. So it does have really positive associations with achievement as well. As for social development, that's a really massive part of being bilingual. Okay, as we know here, sort of learning Albanian is not just to do with your language, it's a lot to do with the culture, with the identity, with sort of, all the amazing performances you do. It's all tied into the language, okay? And what we now know is that maintaining sort of your mother tongue language or heritage language is actually linked to a lot of positive mental outcomes. So it has been linked to overall better mental health, better emotional adjustment, and those who sort of form strong multiple ethnic identities. So for example, you feel like you're British and Albanian, they report higher self-esteem, higher social competence, get better parental support, family connections. So there really is a massive sort of social benefit to maintaining your language. It also helps you really integrate into schools and communities and helps, like I said, with your overall language development. And yeah, that's one thing we sort of really have looked at is sort of this idea of identity and how speaking Albanian will also really help you develop that sort of sense of identity and Albanian identity. And what most people maybe might not realize is that you don't just have to be British or be Albanian. Actually, they can correlate and enhance one another. And the more you sort of preserve your Albanian culture and language, you're able to also feel more British and integrated into society. So it does help you sort of feel better about your different identities and your different communities. It also sort of exacerbates generation gaps. So that sort of means that you're able to speak to your grandparents, you're able to speak to your parents. So it helps with, the family connections, like I said. And as we know, it's sort of in the UK, it's quite difficult sometimes to maintain a language because there's just English everywhere. But that's why you need sort of complementary schools. And this is sort of what we've been looking at. How are children able to get sort of this balanced proficiency in both minority and majority language to make sure we get these positive outcomes. So you can see here, I'm going to start showing you some more of the amazing photos as well that we've taken across our schools, but especially in Shpresa. Sammy's in a few of these, so I'm sorry, Sammy, but they're beautiful photos. But yeah, I don't sort of need to maybe explain too much about the benefits of complementary schools because you guys know that. But I will sort of emphasize that they are a very important movement, even though they're not that recognized. So that's what we're trying to do as well. We know they face so many challenges, there's so much effort that goes behind this. That's so appreciated, a lot of volunteering, a lot of work. But this actually does show a lot of benefits. And research has shown there's really a need to sort of integrate more of these amazing practices in complementary schools in other ways. And we don't want sort of people to feel embarrassed that they go to these schools or conceal these because it's actually a really good thing. You can see from these beautiful photos that complementary schools do so much, especially Shpresa. So we've seen that they meet so many social and cultural needs. By learning the language, you're also able to sort of reflect on your different cultures and really make use of this time to meet with your friends, talk to different, people in the community, and really develop sort of both your identities. But what we've also seen with our research is that complementary schools are really aware of sort of gaps in mainstream school provisions. They really know how to support not just the child, but also the parent, to sort of provide these community identities as well. And past research before us has really shown that these schools help to allow more parental engagement. They're positively sort of benefit student motivation, and they just have a positive sort of ripple effect on the wider community. They make people sort of view bilingualism in a better way. So if you think of it, even as Shpresa sort of acts as a very sort of, they promote this very positive image of Albanian language and culture. So if people come across Shpresa, they're going to obviously then have a much better view of bilingualism. So you are doing sort of much more than you think by sort of attending these schools and doing these performances. It does have a sort of ripple effect. Okay, so not to talk too long, we're almost done. Just some of our findings that we've been doing, but again, I'm happy to talk more. Feel free to email me or ask me any questions if you're curious about more of what we've been finding. So yeah, we've done a lot of school visits with the children. We've done 2 school visits, as some of you might remember me. And what we found when we were talking to the children, as well as some of the interviews with school staff and teachers, we have found sort of evidence that complementary schools do play a very big role, a significant role in developing heritage language, but specifically literacy. So like reading and writing, that's something you do need more sort of effort and really specific teaching for. And it did allow, compared to children who didn't go to these schools, it allowed for sort of a more balanced, let's say, bilingual, bicultural development. So they were able to sort of have balanced proficiency. They were good in their English, closer to the Albanian as well, compared to other children, even though they might not have as much exposure to sort of these languages at home. So complementary schools did fill in this gap, where you weren't maybe hearing as much of these languages. But even more than that, we found that children who did attend complementary schools like Shpresa felt more positively about both their identities. So they rated their identities more closely, and they felt more positive about their identities. And to us, that shows that you're able to sort of adapt into the community better. And it really was sort of CS attendance or complementary school attendance that uniquely contributed to this, which was great. So yeah, when we also spoke to teachers and parents, which we're so happy to do if anyone wants to talk to us in sort of a 30-minute interview, we've been finding sort of through the complementary schools and mainstream schools, so primary schools, that really language learning requires this active parental involvement. And that's why complementary schools are really strong in this, because they're able to sort of talk to parents and engage in the community. But we've also found that they're quite dynamic spaces. They'll really try and adapt to what's happening. So for example, now with the pandemic, you guys have done really well to still try and learn your language online. So they're always dynamic and innovative. have creative strategies and provide wider support. But we've also seen that they still face a range of challenges. So there is opportunity to sort of collaborate and expand on these practices. Okay, so what's sort of next? We are still doing interviews and we're going to be doing our toolkits. So feel free to sort of reach out to us on our website or our blog. But I'm happy to see you sort of all here today celebrating your heritage as well and your languages. That's really what we really promote and like to see. So that's really great. And yeah, this should say Falaminderit as well. There should be a thank you there, but yeah, thank you. I've tried to keep this quite short, but like I said, I'm happy to be here. I'm honored to be here. If you have any questions, let me know. But well done on keeping your languages and your heritage alive. You guys have been amazing. And I'm really glad I got to get to know you through this project. So yeah, Falaminderit. Thank you.
Faleminderit. Thank you so much, Layla. Flutra?
Thank you, Lala. Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's such an inspiration as well. You as a young person and supporting us. Thank you. Lovely to get to know you. And I'm sure we're going to work long more years to come. Thank you.